Hello, and welcome to the first in the series of videos on how to use Blender. This first one is really simple. We're just going to go over what all of these do, or at least what some of these do, where to find some stuff, where commands are laid out, things like that. So first of all, when you open it up, Blender looks very much like this. Your robot cyborg dude here might be a different character. Depends on what version of Blender you have. It's basically everything else is the same, but this little picture changes every now and then. All right, to get rid of it, we just got to click outside this little pop-up window here, so we get rid of it. All right, now I'm not going to touch anything just yet. Like I said, today is just about finding things. So let's go from the top down here. At the very top is this gray bar. It's got, just like any other program, it's got your file. There's some window settings. There's the help menu, obviously. You might notice it's different than other programs that have a lot of options up here at the top. This one's, got 4, and one of them's help. So it's where it's a little different than, say, PowerPoint or Photoshop or Word or Illustrator. Those guys. Some important ones in file, obviously, open. Open recent gives you like files you recently worked on, so you don't have to go find them again. There's save, obviously. There's preferences we might play with later, and there's quit. Render we'll talk about. You don't really need to know most of these, but it's good to know they're there. And then we shall move on. This one, we'll get to in a little bit. You probably won't need to use any of these. Don't worry about that. We don't worry about that. And you don't worry. Okay, moving down. On the left-hand side here is what they call the tool shelf. And just like a real tool shelf, it's got a whole bunch of tools on it. Things that either change things, translate, rotate, scale, mirror, join, right? Things that change what's already here. Or if we go down one to create, we can add new things. Right? So this is basically where your different tools will be. Now, are you going to use that all the time? Probably not. Here's where Blender really becomes awesome. There are a ton of keyboard shortcuts, so you don't need to mess around with finding things up here or over here. One of the coolest ones, one of the first ones you're going to learn is T for tool shelf, and all it does, if you hit T on your keyboard, hides it. Gone. Hit T again, comes back. So if you get rid of it, you get a little bit more workspace to work with. You're not distracted by these buttons over here the whole time. You need something, you hit T. Oh, I need to create a cube. Done. Hit T again and it's gone. All right, so that's the tool shelf on the left. Bring it back so we can keep track of it. Now the one I'm going to hit next is actually hidden by default. It's hidden right under this little plus sign. And what it is the numbers panel. And if I hit N on the keyboard for numbers, pops up. What this is basically, it is all of the numbers, the nitty-gritty, the really accurate stuff that you may need to do. So if you want to put something here, let's say we want to move this around a little bit, yeah, I could just drop it over here. But if I wanted specifically, this is supposed to be at, let's say 0, 0, 0. It's right back there. Great if you're the kind of artist, the kind of animator that needs to have something exactly in the right place. Now you can actually type it so that it's got down to 6 decimal places. Incredible accuracy. And like I said, you're not really going to need to use that most of the time, so you can hit N for numbers and get rid of that too. Over on the right, however, I'm going to drag this out so we can see a little better. These are useful panels right here. This one down here, the properties panel, it's going to be where we do most of our work. This has all of the various properties, both of the whole scene, the whole world you're working in, and of whatever you have selected. And we'll talk more about that later. But for now, this is just so you know, this is where we go if we want to change some details about this particular cube, or we want to change the material the cube is made of, or the texture it's got on the outside, or its physics. Does it bounce? Does it with water? That'll all come in later. Movies. There you go. And lastly, Up here we have the Entities panel, very similar to if you've worked with Photoshop or Illustrator, the Layers panel, in that basically it's got all of the things on its own little thing. There's our cube, there's our lamp, there's our camera, and in this cube, for example, we don't want to see it right now, it's getting in the way. We can hit that little eye, it's gone. It still exists, but it's hidden. That comes right back. All right. Nearly done. Down at the bottom here, there's a second toolbar. You'd think it would be up here with these guys, but no, they put it down here. And this is where like a lot of the the useful stuff is. Most of these have, you'll see they've all got keyboard shortcuts, and I really like those, so I'm going to use them as much as possible in the videos. This stuff over here, we're going to need to use a couple of them, but most of it you can safely ignore. This down here is our timeline for animation purposes. When you're just making a regular scene, you don't need to worry about it, but if you're ever going to animate something, we will. We'll get down to that eventually. That's why it's got the little play and rewind buttons down here, all that stuff. All right, so that is Blender in a nutshell. That's what all these buttons do, or at least where you might be able to find some buttons. One thing I want to point out is that if you mouse over right on the border, you get the little two-handed arrow, you can make things bigger or smaller. This is really handy because by default, the properties panel is really small. As you can see here, it kind of comes up like this. You can't read a lot of stuff, and it's kind of difficult. So if you're going to do a lot of work in it, just grab it, drag it out. You can change things and read them. When you're done, you can put it away again. All right, so that's it for this video. I will start the next one shortly.